What are the biggest remaining questions around the league following the 2024 NFL Draft? We're exploring that today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who make Locked On NFL Scouting your first listen every day, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store or Google Play.
Joe, a little different twist on draft debriefing. So we've kind of looked at some of the classes over the course of the past couple of days, the first 3 days of the week, in addition to all the live coverage that we did. And today on the show is kind of looking, dust is settling, next wave of free agency either is starting or will start in a month for some teams, depending on how the dollars open up, and what work is yet to be done for some of these teams is where we shift our focus to now here. And we've given ourselves a little ambiguity for how the segments work, which I think is a good thing and a smart thing for us, knowing how we usually get off on tangents off on the side. But looking at the biggest holes on our rosters, we're starting on the AFC side of things, and specifically on the offensive side of the football.
All right. I got a little something here, Kyle. And I want to label this as the biggest question, right? Because I feel like if I were to bring this up, maybe fans of this team and this team would say, well, we have options. I just have questions about these options. And what I want to bring up is the Baltimore Ravens offensive line. We have had some big time transition here at left guard, at right guard, and at right tackle. And right now you look at this offensive line and you feel really good about Ronnie Stanley, I think, at left tackle. Always a little bit concerned about the health there. Feel really good about Tyler Linderbaum at center. I don't know about the rest, Kyle. Andrew Voorhees, your penciled-in starter at left guard. Ben Cleveland, your penciled-in starter at right guard, who's, certainly been – other guys have played over him by choice that are no longer on the team. So he's, you took him in the third round, and now you're kind of like moving him back in, right? We'll see. And then your right tackle, I know you drafted Roger Rosengard in the second round. You have Daniel Falele as a recent fourth-round pick. You signed Josh Jones. I don't know, like Patrick McCarry, it feels like they want to find a spot for him. The bottom line here is I have questions about how this all works together, and I think this is really important for what Baltimore wants to be offensively with running the ball with Derrick Henry, obviously a big-time addition. Of course, Lamar Jackson and him being able to work in the passing game. So I think that they probably have options. I have questions about how this all works together for, a big-time contending team, a team that was a 1 seed in the AFC last year.
Yeah, I would look to the wide receiver position for two different teams for two different reasons. One is the Denver Broncos. You've invested in a first-round quarterback in Bo Nix. Cortland Sutton rumored to be potentially going out. But even if he stays, I think this wide receiver room of Josh Reynolds is a nice depth wide receiver. Troy Franklin in the fourth round. Marvin Mims was a second-round pick, kind of struggled to get action and traction last year. Tim Patrick's health is always in question. For developing, I like the offensive line you have in front of this quarterback. The skill players, is there more that you can add to or are you just going to lean into, well, Marvin Mims was a young guy last year and Troy Franklin played with Bo, so he's got chemistry. I think that's one that stands out to me is like, man, like I'd really love to, if Bo Nix is going to play early, I would love to see you guys add to this wide receiver room beyond what is currently already here.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham. I think there's a pretty clear path for him getting on the field.
Right.
And to me, it's just like, keep Cortland Sutton. Let's start there. Let's start right there.
Right.
Let's keep that guy.
I need one
right.
player you feel is probably a starting caliber player, and you feel okay about the room.
Right. I think you you strip it down in ways that make me very uncomfortable. I like Marvin Mims a ton, but like young second year player, Troy Franklin, a rookie, Josh Reynolds, more of a, like you mentioned, a depth wide receiver 3-4. And Tim Patrick, I know he had like a good year like 3 years ago, but like the injuries the last 2 years, this doesn't inspire me to believe in anything there. I think this is a situation where let's cut it out with this Courtland Sutton stuff. Let's figure it out. Let's make it work. That's exactly the type of, like we saw, Michael Thomas be so successful with Sean Payton. I wouldn't be eager to move on from Courtland Sutton, but Sean Payton's got to get his guys. He's got to do his thing. I might feel differently about this receiver core if it wasn't Bo Nix and it was like an established veteran quarterback, but yeah, give this guy his best chance to come in and play and do it well.
Well, that's a good transition into the other wide receiver question that I have, which is Buffalo, right? Obviously, you draft Keon Coleman to be the X, and you have Matt Collin as the other big body guy. I like a lot of what they have between Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel and Dalton Kincaid to be the middle of the field targets. I just really like to have somebody else I feel I can play outside.
Yeah,
I think you get that player. I think it totally changes the complexion for a team that has big aspirations this season. It's trying to get over the hump.
It's an interesting dynamic. I feel like maybe something is coming. It would be in June at wide receiver. Your top three being Coleman, Shakir, and Samuel. And if you knew that Coleman was really good, you would probably be fine with that. But we don't know, right? He's a rookie. He's young. He's 20 years old. So I think in your perfect world, Keon Coleman's awesome and you feel like you have what you need, but we don't know. We have no idea what he's going to be, especially as a rookie. So curious to see if they do anything. If they do, it'd be after June. Maybe they'll be in on Courtland Sutton. Not exactly sure there. I do think we have to remember Dalton Kincaid in this equation, though, like as certainly somebody who's going to get well over 100 targets. I know you mentioned him. I did a comparison of the Bills starting receivers, tight end, and running back, and I compared it to the 4 conference finalists last year. And it's like, all right, they're not better than the 49ers. There's no question. But like you look at the Chiefs that won the Super Bowl with, MVS, Rashee Rice, and Jalen Watson with Kelsey and Pacheco. You look at the Lions, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Josh Reynolds, Laporta, and then Gibbs Montgomery. You look at the Ravens, it's like a rookie and Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Odell Beckham, Mark Andrews, and Justice Hill. Are we sure it's that far off the pace? You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the thought that I have with that. Like, not every team gets to have Chase and Higgins and Waddle and Hill or Brown and Smith. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like of course you'd want that, but like, it hasn't been prohibitive, this like type of weaponry in terms of a team getting at least to the conference championships.
I think as long as if one of the guys that's in-house kind of becomes the guy, like you mentioned Kansas City and Kelsey being and he was bad last year versus his own standards, right? Yeah. Like he was still a very good player, but
looked really good in the playoffs, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. The switch flipped.
Yeah.
So who becomes that guy? If it's going to be one of the young guys that's in-house, who's it going to be? And if that happens, then yes, I do think it changes the complexion, but I would love for them to be a player for a vet on a short-term deal as Keon Coleman matures to kind of give you at least a higher floor of expectation, since there's so much. I wouldn't put all my eggs in the Keon Coleman basket. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I thought I have concerns about that as well. Khalil Shakir led the team in receiving the last 12 weeks on 50 less targets than Stephon Diggs.
He's a nice player.
Right. I always wonder if there's. Well, I'm not going to say it. All right,
he's going to be Cole Beasley for them. Is what he's going to be.
You think? Well, a little more down the field, right? A little more yak.
Cole Beasley was as peak and was a volume player early in Josh Allen's career. I think that's what Khalil Shakir is going to be.
All right, we've got those are your AFC offensive questions. Honorable mention to the left tackle situation for the New England Patriots. We talked about that yesterday. It's a Caden Wallace. Are we moving Chuks Okorafor over? I mean, well, yeah, I guess what is it? Liam Eichenberger, Robert Jones, one of those guys at this point. But money's
starting
coming.
Opposite Isaiah Wynn, who plays 6 games a season.
Yeah,
you probably need another guy there. Yeah,
hear you. Okay, we're going to get into AFC defense on the other side of it, so be sure to stick with us. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
What day is it today?
Thursday, May 2nd, 2024.
Okay. Just checking.
What's the significance of that?
FanDuel's in the first block on Friday, May 3rd.
Oh. You know what? I'm happy to give them some extra love today on the podcast.
AFC defense. Holes on the defensive side of the football.
What you got?
No, what do you got?
This was the one that I didn't have something down for.
Okay. So I think about, we already mentioned Miami at guard, but I think Miami interior defensive line stands out as a spot here. Not to just dip into all the Dolphins stuff, but they didn't add an interior defensive lineman. Right? Raekwon Davis goes out. They sign Benito Jones. Christian Wilkins leaves in free agency. They bring in Neville Gallimore. They bring in Jonathan Harris. They bring in kind of just this slew of players that you haven't really seen a lot of production from. And maybe they shotgun shell it. Deshaun Hand, they brought back last year, played like 150 snaps. Tier Tart had a big time down year. Are we good with that? Like, I know a lot of Dolphins fans kind of expected them to draft somebody. I would have expected them to draft somebody. And they did not. They didn't touch this room at all. So the interior defensive linemen on the roster are Zach Sealer. Yeah, he's a stud. Jonathan Harris, Isaiah Mack, Tier Tart, Benito Jones, Deshaun Hand, Neville Gallimore, Davion Nixon. Undrafted rookie Leonard Payne. I probably feel better having, whether it's a nose tackle to supplant Benito Jones, or if you want to bank on Benito Jones, who I know played meaningful snaps for Detroit last year and was like an adequate depth caliber player. Somebody else to kind of play in a lot of your base even fronts.
Get ready for some defensive line rotation that hasn't existed
Heavy.
in Miami in a while. Is there a free agent that you like out there? I mean, Brian Moan's out there.
I would like Brian Moan more than Benito Jones.
Yeah. That's a name that kind of popped for me when looking through it. But yeah, it's getting pretty cleaned out. And I know Lawrence Guy isn't there like a belief that he's retiring? I don't know that that's been declared or not, but
right.
Get Nacho, right? Raheem Nunez Roches is out there.
I would give it also a shout to I think Pittsburgh at corner.
I had this developed. I was going here.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Because I had this down as an honorable mention, and then we kind of structured it before I finalized what I was doing. But yes, corner for Pittsburgh is the spot for me, where Joey Porter Jr., you're assumed CB1 in his second season. And then opposite of him, you traded for Dante Jackson, he's been injured a lot in his career. If he could be on the field, I think he could be an answer. But then your slot player, who are we going with here? Is it Darius Rush? Is it Josiah Scott? Like Corey Trice? What are we doing here? We don't have a lot of depth. We don't have a true answer in the slot, in my opinion. And I'm a little surprised that they were less aggressive to get something done here. Because I think this is a spot on this roster that feels like it could be potentially a major problem for them this season.
Yeah, I think you're probably banking on the health of Minkah Fitzpatrick this year to kind of help play rangy back there. And if that's the case, I think you certainly feel a lot better about what you have in that collective group. But thank goodness they got Dante Jackson in the trade with Carolina to send Deontay Johnson to Carolina. I think that at least gives you a certain floor. But I would still be looking for a little bit more.
This is where I feel like there are options out there. Adoree Jackson, sign that guy. Stephon Gilmore is out there, doing the 1 year thing. Mm-hmm. Steven Nelson's out there who continuously just has good seasons and nobody ever commits to him long term. Those are reasonable options, and you want to get into the Eli Apples of the world, you can. Yeah, J.C. Jackson, there's options out there. Xavier Howard. If I'm Pittsburgh.
J.C. Jackson.
Listen. Dicey, but yes, I think Pittsburgh, for as much as they're talking about trading for Cortland Sutton, go ahead and do that. Go ahead and sign Adoree Jackson as well and round out this roster.
A shout out to one of the spot
Of course.
The Tennessee Titans have spent a lot of money on a lot of spots. Linebacker is not one of them. We have Cedric Gray, 4th-round pick. James Williams, 7th-round safety conversion from Miami. Jack Gibbons. Kenneth Murray, they gave a decent contract to, but don't love that. Luke Gifford, Garrett Wallow, Otis Reese, Chance Campbell, JoJo Doman. How do you feel about that linebacker room? And I know it's not the most important position on the roster, and you like a lot of what they put in front of it. And the secondary looks really, really exciting with the trade for L'Jarius Sneed and signing a Chidobe Awuzie and Roger McCreary. And that's actually a really fun corner room sitting here looking at coming back and circling to this roster. It's as the dust settles from the draft, you kind of reabsorb everything that's happened. I got some stuff on the back end, but the middle, let's have some questions.
Yeah, I think that's a good call out. Very good call out. It's a concern. Maybe look at Zach Cunningham, Quan Alexander out there, the usual cast of characters of linebackers have been floating around. Go ahead and get yourselves one of them and see what happens.
All right, let's go to NFC O.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. This is where I've got a couple. Now, this is what I have for NFC offense. To me, it's the Arizona Cardinals and their pass catchers. Of course, Marvin Harrison, I think the world of him. I thought he was the best player in the draft. He's still a rookie. I love what they have in Trey McBride at tight end. But what else? I mean, Michael Wilson, I know he flashes a 3rd-round pick. Mm-hmm. Greg Dortch, kind of like you're just perpetual, okay slot receiver. What else do we have here? Zach Pascal, Chris Moore. I would like to have more at wide receiver for Kyler Murray. And that's kind of the interesting thing of this whole Cardinals team. And I like so much of how Monty Ossenfort has this team evolving and developing. There's a lot to like. But what's really strange about them is they're paying the quarterback, right? They have all the money invested in the quarterback, but the rest of the roster is lagging so far behind. And it's you start to ask yourself questions like, how are we going to maximize this chance with Kyler Murray? And I still think I like the trajectory. We're still a work in progress. Wish they had a little bit more in terms of wide receiver talent for him to use.
I'm surprised they didn't double dip earlier.
Right.
They came back with Tayshawn Palmer in the 6th, but you used a 3 on a guard who played tackle, but you're projecting inside at guard. I know he played guard in, I think, 2022, and Isaiah Adams from Illinois. Used a 3 on a running back. Totally fun. I think the value there was really good. We gave love to that pick. Used another 3 on Tip Ryman to be your second or your inline blocking tight end to complement Trey McBride. Used a 3 on Elijah Jones at corner after using a 2 on Max Melton.
Yeah.
I just think, some of those picks, a lot of day 2 picks, maybe if you came back again, you'd get a little bit more excited about what's behind Marvin Harrison in this wide receiver.
Yeah. If I'm Arizona, I'm looking at Zay Jones. I'm looking at,
there's probably going to be a few guys
DJ
like that
Chark.
That get cut loose,
yeah,
too, after the draft as players sign their rookies.
Yeah, even Tyler Boyd. I'm after all these guys if I'm them.
We have to acknowledge the Dallas Cowboys running back situation, right?
Zeke, baby.
I do not care.
Zeke.
I'm physically incapable of caring less that Ezekiel Elliott has re-signed with the Dallas Cowboys. The only good thing about it is he's wearing 15 this time.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, what do you suggest they do here?
Rico Dowdle, Deuce Vaughn, Royce Freeman, whatever you do, even if it means you wait till September and you pick dudes up off the waivers. Like Royce Freeman, Rico Dowdle's an intriguing player, but surely someone will shake loose that has a little bit more resume and something left in the tank more than Ezekiel Elliott, right?
Dalvin Cook out there? Maybe he can get it going for the Cowboys.
Right? One of the few names you could have invoked that would have been less inspired.
He was going to change the trajectory of the Jets last year. this was the real difference maker.
He went on that 3-month media tour about all the visits, and
then he went to the Ravens. And how dare you let Lamar Jackson and Dalvin Cook in the same backfield? Gosh, man, unbelievable.
Did he get any carries in Baltimore?
Brother, I don't know. He didn't deserve any of them. So if he got any, that would be more than he
I'm
deserved.
gonna find out. I'm gonna float around, produce this thing, and find out.
All right.
Saw 3.2 yards per carry last year.
Solid. All right, we got what? NFC defense on the other side of it?
Yeah, we do.
Very good. So be sure to stick with us. All right, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying, flag on the play. You've already talked about that, but there's just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes that you can unlock. And there's so much to get, like unique stickers that you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces to travel boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting your friends with when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. Just flip them around, Kyle. Just flip them around.
Yeah, just here, there, flip flop. It's no big deal. Monopoly Go and FanDuel both got their love today.
Yeah, they did. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Have you ever finished, like when you were growing up, we played Monopoly a lot like the board game, but boy, oh boy, I'm not sure we ever finished a game. I don't think it's ever happened for me.
No, I finished.
Did you?
Yeah. It was like an all weekend affair with a couple of friends, but we finished.
Did you? I've never done it. That's what's great about Monopoly Go, man. Just right on the phone.
Right.
New and exciting every day.
Right there at your fingertips.
Oh, yep.
I have Atlanta Falcons corners down.
Oh, you got real specific. All right. Very good.
Just Atlanta Falcons defense.
I just said Atlanta Falcons defense. I know that we invested a top 10 pick in our backup quarterback, but heaven forbid we did something.
What? Our next 3 picks on just the defensive line?
Right. And like, dude, and even those picks are like, I like Brandon Dorless. I thought that was the best pick that they made of those 3.
Mm-hmm.
But like Rook, all right, we need some time here. Braylon Trice, questions about how you translate. I don't know, man. Like, what are we doing?
So, corner specifically outside of AJ Terrell, Clark Phillips, Mike Hughes. I think those guys are both probably ideally inside guys, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to get the best out of those 2 players, I think they're both ideally inside. And then behind that, you got Kevin King and Antonio Hamilton and Natron Brooks and D. Alford. Those are the kinds of names we're invoking as the other outside corner. And maybe I'm sure Clark Phillips will probably get a look to play outside. I just don't know that that's where he would be best served as a player.
Adoree Jackson? Go sign with the Falcons.
Great signing. It'd be a great signing at this stage.
Yeah, get that done. What do you like about their defense? The interior defensive line of Onyemata and Jarrett, if they're healthy?
Yeah.
What else?
They got some
Bates and Terrell
youth. I like what Troy Anderson can become. I like Caden Ellis is kind of a hybrid player. Yeah, it's we're not going to throw any more dirt on Atlanta. I will say, if I did trust somebody to get some improvement out of a lot of those young guys, it would probably be Raheem Morris. I think it is probably where I would find some peace. If I were
their defense last year was 11th in yards and 18th in scoring, which is pretty decent considering how little their offense helped them.
Mm-hmm. Can I call up the Chicago Bears edge group still?
Okay, yeah.
I know they Thanos snapped the 5th round pick into existence to draft Austin Booker. And I know they missed the run, right? Is a really not inspiring edge group after the first, 5 names if you include Darius Robinson. I think the league kind of told us that a little bit too. You saw kind of a pseudo mini edge run that came in the 2nd round, but it was guys like, Braylon Trice went on day 2. Chris Braswell went on day 2, right? I think for a team like Chicago, maybe they could have been a team that was really intrigued by Marshawn Nealand, but they didn't really have the pick volume to be players in that game. He also went in the 2nd round. So Montez Sweat, yes. DeMarcus Walker, Dom Robinson, Jacob Martin, Austin Booker, Kaleem Kareem, Daniel Hardy. I think if you get another guy, and there's some vet guys that are available for that spot, I feel a little bit better about what they have on the edge.
How do you feel about the Giants at corner as well? I know that they drafted Drew Phillips in the 3rd round. They invested a recent 3rd round pick in Cordell Flott. But it's like Deonte Banks in his 2nd season, that's your top corner. And then what are we doing here? Nick McLeod, hoping he comes along. Aaron Robinson, Darnay Holmes. It's just like a lot of like bodies. But
yeah, for a team that kind of invested a pretty good amount recently into their defensive side of the football, right?
Yeah.
You consider some of the early round draft picks in Thibodeau and Banks, and then trading for Brian Burns and paying Bobby Okereke. They've spent a lot of attention to this side, and I just think I'm glad they got Tyler Nubin. I think Giants safety was one of the most glaring holes of any or needs of any team going into the draft. So I like the Tyler Nubin pick a lot, but that whole secondary is very injury averse, right? Like you guys really can't afford any injuries in the secondary, because they don't really have the depth there that would make you feel good about what you had behind him.
Good thing they got better up front with Burns. That'll help them. But
that will help. I know Big Joe Marino's a big pass rush over coverage guy.
I am. Where are you on that? Not to like open up a whole can of worms, but like
that's a
you change your mind all the time.
Talk myself in a circle on if you gave me 60 seconds to talk about it, which is what we're doing right now. So maybe an off-season combo we can dive into. That is going to do it for us here on Locked On NFL Scouting. I'm Kyle Crabbs. He's Joe Marino. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. I appreciate you guys for checking out the show. As always, we will be back again tomorrow to wrap up this post-NFL draft week. So come on back and see us.